Thank you. And we're here at the Assembly Show. Today we have Eric Hayler with us. He's a Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt and principal of the Hayler Group. He's also an adjunct professor of business analytics at the University of South Carolina Upstate in Spartanburg, South Carolina. He has led continuous improvement efforts at BMW Manufacturing as well as Amazon. He's a graduate of Rutgers University and holds a PhD in solid state inorganic chemistry. He's also a longtime member of ASQ and has served in a variety of roles there, including chair of the board of directors. So Eric, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Michelle.
Yeah, of course. So you spoke yesterday about Kaizen Events. Could you tell us why you wanted to discuss this topic?
Sure. Kaizen Events is one of the basic tools in the lean manufacturing toolkit, but even so, the results that it can bring are very, very powerful. So, simple, straightforward methodology, but really impactful results.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So, if someone's considering doing a Kaizen event, what would they need to plan and execute it?
Well, maybe I should explain what a Kaizen event is first.
Sure.
So, Kaizen is a Japanese word that means good change or change for the better. Kaizen event is a term that comes out of the Toyota production system. I think most folks know that Toyota was responsible for developing and refining many of the methodologies that we associate with lean manufacturing today. So Kaizen event is a continuous improvement or problem-solving workshop. Now, when Toyota started doing these events, they were scoped out to last a full week. And traditionally, most Kaizen events, which are done on the shop floor, last between 3 and 5 days. Now, over time, that's changed considerably. Sometimes appropriately scaled events can be done in 1 or 2 days sometimes. And since the days of initially implementing them on the shop floor, they've also migrated to the indirect processes in organizations. In other words, the support areas like human resources, finance, accounting, and other departments. And so when we scope out those, they usually are scoped to last to go a little bit quicker, maybe 1 or 2 days.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So if people are thinking about doing a Kaizen event, are there common questions they would ask you or things that people may not understand about that?
Sure. Things like, how do I get started, and how can I, am I expected to lead an event? How do I lead an event? Now, when I got started with Kaizen, the first thing that I did was participate in a Kaizen event. Then I received some basic training about how you would lead one. I was a co-facilitator on, I think I did 2. Most folks just do 1, but I co-facilitated 2. And then after I supported leading a workshop, then I led a workshop in the presence of somebody who has a lot of experience before I started doing them on my own. So that's kind of how you would get started with facilitating them. And, make sure you get the appropriate training, not just the tools and methods. That's one thing, but also how do you facilitate? What are some best practices? How do you lead the team through all 5 days, and how do you take them through the process? The other question would be kind of like where to start. And a good place to start is a place or a process that has an opportunity, opportunity for improvement. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be the biggest problem in the plant, but something that can bear a lot of fruit, and that, and it's always nice to have something that is kind of physical, something that you can see. 5S is something that often gets done in the context of a Kaizen event. 5S stands for sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain. It's a 5-step method to creating a clean and high-performance workplace. And so if you take an area of the shop and you do a 5S event, it really stands out and serves as a model for the rest of the factory.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. And can you share an example of a Kaizen event you've seen or been involved in and how it went?
Sure. I worked with one of my clients as a plastics manufacturer. They produce plastic parts for the automotive industry, and they were struggling with spending a lot of money on packaging. Now, as it turns out, a lot of the packaging the packaging numbers weren't in their SAP system weren't matching the amount of packaging that they had on the shop floor, and it seemed like things were going missing. So once we were able to identify where the discrepancies were, and then to mistake-proof the process, I'll throw another Japanese term at you, poka-yoke. And poka-yoke means mistake-proofing or error-proofing. We look for ways to make the process function in a way that can only be done one way, and that you can't make a mistake. So we looked for as many poka-yokes as we could, and then once we implemented that, not only did the company save the estimated $186,000 annually that was originally projected, but they exceeded that by about 47%.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, I remember seeing the numbers in the presentation. They were very impressive how different things were before they started and after they did it. So
yeah,
that's great. And so if someone's interested in doing Kaizen, would you suggest they read a little bit about it first, or trying to talk to other people who've done it? What would be like a good first step to?
Well, reading's always good, but I would suggest participating in a Kaizen event. Maybe it would be a good idea for me to explain how a Kaizen event flows.
Sure.
So Kaizen events follow the problem-solving process. Now, I know a lot of folks are familiar with things like PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act, or the A3 problem solving, or sometimes in the automotive industry, 8D is a common problem solving approach, or even the Lean Six Sigma DMAIC methodology. All of these things are problem solving methods that break down the problem solving process into a different number of steps. With Kaizen, it's just taking the team through that process in the space of the 3 to 5 days or whatever the allotted time for the workshop is. And so kind of how that flows is, you start off by being clear about what it is that you're trying to accomplish. I like to be able to set a good problem statement, a good problem description, as well as a very specific goal statement. I like to use the SMART format: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based. So, understanding specifically what you want to accomplish, understanding where you are right now, what is the current baseline, either in terms of the current levels or how is the process functioning, and actually going out and seeing the process with your own eyes and mapping out the steps to the process. Not what it says on the process sheet, but actually what you see, what's actually happening, and that's your current state. From there, doing a root cause analysis, what are brainstorming with the team. And by the way, the team is usually a combination of subject matter experts, maybe a couple of sets of fresh eyes on the process, as well as people who work in that area who can give you their experience and also be able to implement the improvements. So you have your team, they do the potential root cause brainstorming, come up with the ones that are most likely. From there, again, brainstorm what potential solutions can address those root causes, and then create a plan to implement them. Prioritize them, select the ones that give us the biggest benefits for the least amount of effort, and then create an implementation plan of who's going to do what by when. And then finally, making sure that the gains that you've achieved are sustainable. Mistake-proof the process, update any existing documentation or create any new needed documentation, control plans and things like that. So I guess I stepped through that a little bit, but again, at a high level, the problem-solving process when we're doing this with Kaizen is be clear about what you want to accomplish, document the current state, brainstorm root causes, create solutions and an implementation plan, execute that, and then set up controls.
Yeah, I was talking to a CEO in a German company, and he was saying he even was involved in the Kaizen event just to show that it was very important, and moving tables and all that, really helping the staff feel like, okay, this is important. He's out here too, and this is a priority. So then it went a lot better.
It's always great to get leadership involved. Not every CEO can attend every Kaizen event, but a very good practice is to have a good communications plan. I like to have key stakeholders present right at the beginning of the workshop, particularly the project or the workshop sponsor. and the workshop sponsor is the process owner. The person who has direct authority to make changes in the process, and that usually ends up being at the lowest level of management that has overall authority. But of course, key stakeholders can be anyone in the organization. I like to have them present at the beginning. I like to have them present at the end for an end of event kind of kickoff. And then it's also really good to have them in the middle, somewhere, just before the execution phase. The team describes to the management team problem-solving process that they went through, their root cause analysis, their brainstorming on solutions, what they've chosen, and it's a great opportunity to get buyback from the management team before starting to do the implementation.
That sounds great. And I know during the presentation you talked about what would be a good fit for a Kaizen and what wouldn't be, like if you need a lot of data, maybe it's not the right fit. Could you walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Oh, and that reminds me, I wanted to comment that I was really struck by the diversity of topics at the show this week. There were, between the presentations and what we see on the exhibit hall floor, we've got examples of AI, machine learning, robotics, some of the most cutting edge topics in the world today. Whereas my topic is exactly the opposite. It's very much low tech. And so that's kind of where I would compare and contrast. With Kaizen, we're looking at low cost, easy to implement solutions. We want to implement as much as we can during the Kaizen event as possible. We don't want to leave folks with a big laundry list of activities to do when they go back to do their regular jobs. My target is to get 80% of the action items implemented, completed before the end of the workshop, particularly if it's a shop floor event. If it's a transactional event, 50-60% is a more realistic target, and there's different reasons for that.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. And so if people are interested in Kaizen events, how often would you recommend they do them, or I guess it just depends on the company, or is there a regular kind of frequency you recommend?
Yeah, it kind of depends on the company in terms of how far along they are with their Lean or Lean Six Sigma journeys. It depends on how many resources the company has. Ideally, a company would have a dedicated continuous improvement department. When they do, I usually recommend a cadence of starting off more modestly, but eventually going at a pace of about one Kaizen event per month.
Oh, that's great.
I think if that can be accommodated, that helps to establish and maintain that culture of continuous improvement.
On kind of an opposite level, have you ever seen a Kaizen event that wasn't really suited for Kaizen, or maybe would have worked differently or
yes,
better?
And I guess I didn't finish answering your question from before. So, good opportunities for Kaizen topics are those things that are that can be scoped out to last within the frame of the workshop. We're looking for basically quick hitters. We don't want to have to collect a lot of data and do fancy data analysis. When if you're looking to for innovative solutions, which are typically higher cost, more difficult to implement, you really want to have your ducks in a row. You really want to have the data that supports this kind of investment, either in terms of money or in terms of time. So Kaizen, on the other hand, something that's a little bit less aggressive. Another way to look at it is in terms of are the solutions that you come up with a one-way door, or are they two-way doors? A one-way door would be very, if you made a change to the process, would it be easy to go back again? Something that was expensive or hard to implement certainly would be a one-way door. A two-way door is something that if you changed it, you could easily go back and change it back if it didn't work, or make some adjustments to the process. So these small little improvements that can, at the end of the day, add up to be a big improvement, just as impactful as some of those expensive higher tech solutions.
So you're saying don't do a machine learning, machine vision Kaizen event, it sounds like.
typically not. One of the rules of thumb for Kaizen is not to spend money or not to spend very much money. But to tell you the truth, there with all the innovative devices that are now, have come down in price. It's not out of the scope of some Kaizen events to incorporate some of that. The topic that I spoke about at the show last year was LCIA, low cost intelligent automation, and even simple things like device scanners that are embedded into gloves for logistics personnel, or cameras that are embedded into gloves to help people see in hard to reach places. Even all the way up to scanned images and image analysis sometimes can be part of Kaizen events these days.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. I remember your topic last year was very popular. It was rated very high on our survey, so people like that kind of stuff for sure. So I think those were kind of the main questions I was going to ask about your session, but is there anything else you want to share or think we should include?
Nothing particular, but I'd just like to say that Kaizen is, the power is. Oh yes, there was one other thing. Getting started. We had a question come up at the presentation yesterday about what do you do when people are resistant, and it's not an easy answer. But the best way I've found to convince people is to show them the impact that you can have. So if you can get that project that has potential for a big impact, that's really visible, to execute that, to demonstrate that for folks, that's when people start to get excited, and that'll get them interested and have more patience for some of the bigger types of projects, even maybe a full-scale Lean Six Sigma rollout. In my experience in my former company in the automotive industry, before we rolled out Lean Six Sigma across the group, we started off with small Kaizen events that really got management excited about what could come next.
That does sound good. Give people a little preview and then they really enjoy the process. So that's great. Okay. Well, that's all the time we have, but thank you for listening. We're here at the Assembly Show, and thank you again, Eric, for joining us.
Thanks, Michelle.